Safety Stop is a medicated bath for new fish arrivals. It's very easy to use and mix up, and I'm going to show you how in this video. You need a timer, scissors, the package of course, a couple of buckets, and an air stone, not to mention a new fish or two. After floating your new fish in the aquarium water for about 20 minutes, go ahead and release it in a bucket, a nice clean one, and you can use the water from the store as the initial water sample. Then you're going to go ahead and start a drip system, or a way to trickle water from the aquarium into the bucket of water with your new fish. I used a piece of tubing that I heated up and hooked over the top, brought down some tubing and a small valve to control the flow rate, and I let it trickle in at a decent rate, not a slow drip. The slower you make this happen, the more likely the water in the bucket will cool off. So you may need to put in a heater to keep temperatures up if your home is especially cold, like during the winter months. The fish store by my house has a salinity that's relatively close to my aquarium, so I only had to bring it up a few more points. But if the salt water from your source is pretty low, and you have to bring up the salinity quite a bit, you may have to acclimate more slowly to let the fish adjust to the higher salinity. The ingredients inside Safety Stop are clearly marked on the back of the package. The green part is formalin, and the blue part is methylene blue. The expiration date is not really anything to be concerned about. It turns out in Canada it's required by law, but for us it can never expire, so don't worry about that. First thing I'll do now, while the fish are slowly getting used to the salinity of my tank, is I'll scoop a gallon of water out of my reef. And in this case, I took it out of the anemone cube. It's all tied into the same system, so it really doesn't matter where I get my water from. And I'll pour it into the bucket to the right of the area where the skunk clownfish are getting used to the salinity. The next step is to go ahead and cut open the package of Part A of Safety Stop and pour in the green solution into exactly 1 gallon of tank water. Now, formalin takes away the oxygen from the water, so it's important to have an air stone with an air bubbler. If you have a heavy air stone, that would be much better. Mine was made of wood and it kept floating upward, so I used a coffee mug to help hold it down temporarily during this bath where the fish will be for the next 45 minutes. So, they are scooped out carefully into a net and transferred over into the formalin bath. Don't worry about taking the net from one solution to the other. They can touch these chemicals, it won't affect it or hurt it in a negative way. You can move it from one solution to the next solution. It won't do any damage whatsoever. So after playing chase that fish, I finally caught them out of the bucket and got them into the bath. Safety Stop is for fish only. It's not for invertebrates, not for clams, corals, anemones, nothing. Fish only. While the fish are going through their first medicated bath, I'll go ahead and do some cleanup just to get the bucket emptied out because I need it for part 2. I'm constantly checking on the fish and the timer to see where we're at, and make sure that they're not stressed or reacting strangely in any form or fashion. If they're moving about the bucket and swimming and breathing naturally, all is well, and you can just let them go through the entire 45-minute period. But if you see any kind of sign of stress, you can take them out early. Just don't overreact. Give it a chance. As the timer counts down to 0, it's time to take out another gallon of water out of the reef to put in the second bucket for the methylene blue bath. The reason I wait until it's time to do this is so that the water will still be at the right temperature and not have dropped down to a colder level. You'll also notice that I put both these buckets on a rubber mat to insulate the bucket from the cold floor. It's just about time, so I'll move the air pump out of my way so I can get better access to the fish, and carefully move them from the formalin bath over to the methylene blue bath. The methylene blue is actually going to add a lot of oxygen to the water naturally, so it's not really necessary to put in an air stone, but I do it every single time. I've been using Safety Stop for the past 2 years, and in that time, I have bathed over 30 fish. Not once did anything show any kind of issue, none of them died prematurely or acted strangely, so don't feel any concern in using this. It's a preventative to keep external parasites out of your reef. Now I'm pouring out the formalin because I'm done, but if I had more fish, I could then put more fish in the first bath while the second bath is going. You can use Safety Stop for 4 to 5 hours in succession before you toss it out, and then you should make a new batch. If you've purchased a large fish that needs to be in a larger bath, just remember 1 packet per gallon of water. So if you need 2 gallons of water, use 2 packets. 3 gallons of water, use 3. It couldn't be any easier than that. Now that the second bath has completed its 45-minute treatment, it's time to scoop the fish out. Every new fish that goes into my reef goes into the Peacemaker. This is a box that hangs in my display tank that has holes drilled through it and allows water to flow through, and all the fish can see the newcomer for about 3 days. Then after those 3 days are up, they'll go ahead and be added directly into the reef. But this is a really good way to let the fish de-stress and give me an opportunity to feed them with no competition from the regulars. Here they are, ready to go, just waiting to move into the reef. So we'll do a little more cleanup, pour out the methylene blue solution, rinse out my buckets for next time, put away the pumps, rinse off the nets, and then in theory, I'm good until next time. However, a friend of mine told me I didn't buy enough clownfish, so I went back to the store and got more and did it all over again. So here's all 11 of the skunk clownfish that you saw in last month's video, where I'd added them to the tank with a clownfish slide. And they love their new anemone. So here we are a month later, and I just thought I'd show you an update of all the clowns in their tank, loving life. Safety Stop is super easy to use. I've had no risk, no disaster, no scary moments. I totally trust it, and for those of you that refuse to set up a quarantine tank, at the very least, every fish you get should go through Safety Stop. It's inexpensive. I sell it from my website for $5 a package. I can mail it to you. It doesn't have to be expensive shipping. And you can make sure that the external parasites that are on your new fish do not get into your reef. This is definitely the way to go. To be frank, I really think that Safety Stop de-stresses new fish, and the Peacemaker keeps the peace within the reef. And I recommend you do the same. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't, and next week's video should be a good one.